Perfect, thank you. Okay, so welcome everybody to the Astro Cafe for March the 30th, 2026. Got an interesting lineup, a lot of stuff involving Artemis and a couple of other things. I guess to start off, as we have typically been doing, I know we don't have a lot of people online yet. Is there anybody new that's attending this Astro Cafe who hasn't been around before to just say hi? Okay, so it sounds like it's all the veterans, which is awesome. Um, is there anybody else that has anything that they want to say later? I'll do another call when there's more people online, but is there anybody else that has things to share or announcements or anything like that? Okay, I'm assuming if
Sorry,
Dave, oh, go ahead.
it's Vince. I have a really nice picture that I took last night. I was going to go up the hill, and then it got canceled, so I figured I'll sit in my backyard, and I took a picture of the Rosette. So I posted a link to the chat.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's awesome. I'd actually seen your note about not going up onto the hill. Did you get any word about what went on up there? Did any folks go to the VCO?
The last I heard, it was scrubbed.
Okay, it was really scrubbed because of the weather.
Yeah, which then of course cleared up uh, about 5 minutes after I received that email. The skies just went open right up, and we
Of
had just
course.
absolutely gorgeous seeing last night. The seeing was perfect. It was almost that the sky gods were mocking us for scrubbing.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that at least you got something. But that it is always typical. Um, Phil Stooke had some stuff that he wanted to share about Artemis. I think looking forward to Artemis 4 or actually the projection. Are you ready with that, Phil, if I put the
Uh,
slide?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, super.
Okay.
Hang on for one sec. Let me just get this up into a slideshow
Yeah.
format.
Yeah.
And I'll get all the eager listeners off to the side. Maybe put them down here. Okay, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you. So I want to look ahead. Obviously, we'll be hearing a lot about Artemis 2 over the next few weeks, but I want to look ahead to the landing missions, the first of which looks like being Artemis 4, and to deal with the question of where you're actually going to land. We'll be looking at this map a few times. So I just want to say something about it. It's a topographic map showing us surface elevations. The bottoms of craters, the low points are in purple, and the tops of mountains and plateaus are yellow and orange. And the green stuff is sort of the average elevation in this area. So this is the south pole of the moon. The south pole is right at the center, the kind of crosshairs there. This is the area that's been chosen to look at. Can we have the next slide, please? So here's a map of the moon showing the Apollo landing sites, which are very much clustered together in the center of the near side, the Earth-facing side. And Artemis is going to the South Pole. So this is going to be a very different situation, different landscape, different lighting, different geology. It's going to be a very different situation. Let's go to the next slide again, please.
You want to go? Is that next? Oh, okay.
That's right. So this is the same picture that we saw before, and we'll see it again another time. But just to point out that the area that's called the Artemis zone now extends from the pole out to 84 degrees south. That circle on there is 85 degrees south, so it goes a little bit beyond that. And you can see the high points, which are the yellow and orange ones. They're the tops of mountains, the top of a large plateau in the upper right. They project upwards more into sunlight, and so they're more likely to have prolonged periods of illumination. And so they are quite favored for the early landings. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And this is just a view of the same area, but a very different representation of it. We have an image of illumination projected on top of topography and then viewed obliquely, so you can see the mountains sticking up. Anything that's dark here is in shadow most of the time. If it's very dark, it's in shadow literally all the time. So the intermediate grays get a little bit of sunlight. The areas that get a lot of sunlight are the hilltops, and they show up brighter, and some spots on the crater rims manage to get quite a lot of light. People used to talk about the peaks of eternal light at the South Pole. There aren't any peaks of eternal light that are always sunlit, but there are places that can be illuminated, say 75% of a lunar day or thereabouts. It can go up a little bit, it can go down a little bit. There are small seasonal variations because there is a very small axial tilt to the moon, but they're not very substantial. Okay, let's go to the next slide again.
Phil, just pause on this slide for 1 sec. Is there any scale that you can offer in terms of this image?
Yes, let's do that. If you can see that there's a line of 3 craters running slightly diagonally across the middle, and each of those craters in that trio are about 40 or 50 kilometers across. There's a very dark crater just below them, kind of near the center, but just below them. That's Shackleton crater at the South Pole. It's 20 kilometers across. And in terms of elevations, there's a large plateau right at the top, which then comes down into the dark area. There's more than 10 kilometers of relief there, higher than Mount Everest, from the top of that plateau to the bottom of the adjacent craters. This is a very, very mountainous area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to the next slide there. Right, and so also talking about scales, I guess, that the white circle that you can see, which is 85 degrees south, from one side to the other, it spans 10 degrees. That's 300 kilometers. So the biggest craters there are about 100 kilometers across. Okay, so, and a few of these mountains have been given names recently, and the one I'm going to be most concerned with today is the one at the top of right, the biggest of the mountains, called Mons Mouton now. Mons Mouton, named after a mathematician who worked for NASA. It's about 50 kilometers to probably more than that, about 100 kilometers from left to right there, about 60 in the other dimension. So that's quite a large upland, but most of the areas that stick up into sunlight are actually very small. And they're just along crater rims or on the tops of some of the other mountains like Mons Malapert in the upper center there. So it's a lot more shadow than there is sunlight down in these areas. And of course, people hope that there will be frozen water and frozen and other volatiles like carbon dioxide in some of those very cold places. Okay, let's go to the next slide here.
Phil, one other question looking at how mountainous this area is, and this may be beyond your ability to ask, but do you have any sense of how NASA decides where the specific landing area will be?
Well, that's exactly what this talk is going to talk about.
Okay,
I'll
be quiet and keep going then.
Yeah, that's why we're here. Okay, so the Artemis program was initiated in 2019, and in 2020, the Artemis Science Definition Team made a big consultation of lunar scientists to look at potential areas. Now, this image is a bit small, but we're going to see parts of it blown up. Basically, in the top image, there are several little circles which were considered as landing sites early on, and the other images just show them in a bit more detail. we don't really see enough detail here to be able to tell that. But this is people in 2020 thinking about where they might go. And most of the sites they've chosen are up on these well-illuminated ridges. But a few of them are down in depressions where you might find ice, but not in places that are in permanent shadow. We're not ready to land in places like that yet, and may never be. But the places here that were included as early possible landing sites in depressions have about a week of sunlight. So they have 3 weeks of shadow, week of sunlight, and that's long enough for an Artemis surface mission. So they were being considered. But we'll go on and look at them in a bit more detail in the next slide. Okay, so this is a close-up of that area around the pole. The big crater on the right-hand side, it's called Amundsen, is getting on for 100 kilometers across, to give us some scale. So this is in early 2022, a group of lunar scientists got together and mapped out potential places to land, which kind of builds on the map that we saw before, but we can see it more clearly here. 27 regions were selected, yeah, although it's going to be a bit hard to see on that, they do have labels which identify actually the initials of the people who chose them. So there's some SL for Sam Lawrence, for instance. I spelled his name wrong. It should have a W in it, Lawrence. My mistake there, NP for Noah Petro, and so on. So there are several that are named after people here. And this was the first cut. And most of them, again, are on high points, but with a few in depressions where you might have more chance to get into areas with some ice. Let's go to the next slide now. Okay, no, we missed one. Just go back one more. There we go. Okay, so that list of 27 sites was reduced to 13 later in 2022. And this was the set of sites that was announced by NASA in 2022, 13 potential sites for initial Artemis planning. These are all on high points. They left out all of those that went into deeper, darker areas. So these are among the places that have the best lighting and enough of an area around them that you can actually move around and do something on the surface. Although they're not going into the larger craters to look for ices and so on, there would be small craters inside each of these places that would potentially give them access to this frozen material. Okay, now let's go to the next one. So that was 2022. 2 years later, 2024, that list was reduced to 9, which are highlighted here a little bit brighter than the others. They were selected to choose the Artemis 3 landing site. And they represent the places that were a little bit easier, a little bit less challenging, with the sun is a bit higher in the sky. So the places right at the pole from the or very close to the pole from the previous map have actually been omitted. And the places where the sun will be a bit higher, especially sort of far left, far right, and up at the top, they've been favored for Artemis 3. If you go to the one at the sort of top right, Mons Mouton, it's the largest area. I think it's the one most likely for the first landing to go to. We know that it won't be Artemis 3 now, but when this was made, it was going to be Artemis 3. But there's quite a lot of room on that large plateau, and the sun would be about 5 degrees above the horizon. So it's not quite as bad as having it right on the horizon. And it's a potentially quite a good place. I think that's probably where the first landing would go. One thing, I've been talking about the sun, but of course we also have to deal with the Earth. And when you're right at the pole, Earth spends half its time above the horizon and half its time below the horizon. So another reason for not going right to the pole on the first landing is to have better access to the Earth. And so the Mons Mouton area, top right, would have Earth above the horizon pretty much the entire time, and that's easier to deal with. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now, that's where we have been with planning. But here's a fellow who disagrees. This is Jack Schmitt, Harrison Schmitt, the Apollo 17 lunar module pilot, looking very cheerful there because he's actually on the moon in that picture, in the lunar module. And he's still very involved in lunar geological research, writing papers, helping out with planning right now. He's really the only person who's doing a lot of that kind of work from the old days there. I mean, from among the astronauts. He has been arguing quite vociferously at meetings that it's not a good idea to send the first landing to one of these very, very difficult places. High relief, low sun, just a difficult place to deal with. So he's been arguing that we should go to places at higher latitudes for at least the first landing to build up our capabilities a bit more before going to the risky places. Let's go to the next slide now. Here's one place that he mentioned in 2023, early in the year. It's the crater Clavius, well known to anyone who observes the moon. It was the place where they were going to have they did have a big lunar base in 2001. Just on the western side of the crater, another crater has been cut into it. And that appears to have a possible area, quite a small area, of permanent shadow under its northern wall. So Schmitt is suggesting that this is a place which is only at about 60 degrees south, but might have an area of permanent shadow that people could study. So it might be suitable for an early landing. Now let's go to the next slide. And then he, later in that same year, he picked a whole bunch of places that are more like 80 degrees south, 75 to 80 degrees south, but quite smooth, quite flat, quite easy to land in, but which would still be somewhat interesting from a scientific point of view. So he's been quite involved in trying to find an alternative place, but it doesn't really sound like very many people are listening to him at this stage, I have to say. However, I did just hear today the faintest rumor that possibly a non-polar site will be considered for the first landing, but we don't really know that yet. Let's go to the next slide. So once you've got these places that you might go to, then you have to start thinking first, where exactly would you land? Those regions that we saw mapped out, those square regions, they're about 15 kilometers across or more. And each one could contain many individual specific landing sites. So those areas aren't landing sites, but landing regions, and within them there could be several sites. So first you might look for where you would land, and then you could consider what you would do there. This is just a map of a place right on the edge of Shackleton Crater, very close to the South Pole. The South Pole is at the top right corner of this image, or just outside it. And the rim of Shackleton Crater is the bright patch on the right-hand side. And coming down towards the lower left is atop of a ridge, sometimes called the Connecting Ridge, that runs between Shackleton and another crater called the Gerlach. In this scenario, a landing would take place in the lower left corner, and a rover would be driven quite a long distance along this very uneven ridge top and then along the rim of Shackleton and maybe down into a depression at top center. So this is the kind of planning that's going on quite extensively at the moment, looking at individual places, thinking about what you would do there, what are the science targets, what are the geological targets you want to go and look at, what bit of permanent shadow might be accessible to you to look for ices of various kinds. So there's a lot of this work going on. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see another one. This is right on top of the Malapert Massif or Mons Malapert, Malapert Mountain. It's had several names over the years. Mons Malapert is its official name now. And here we have a landing at a very high illumination point on top of it. There's a spot that would get illumination for much of the month. And you could land there. And this is an area that only spans about 2 kilometers across. And so the distances here don't need a rover. This would work for the one of the early landings where you only have walking EVAs or extravehicular activities. So you can only walk. So the astronauts would be able to walk, for instance, to the right from the landings. The landing site's the black spot in the kind of in the middle there. You could walk to the right and then up to the top right, and then along the rim of that crater, and then back. So that would just be a walk of about 2 kilometers in each direction. So this kind of planning is going on all over the place. There are lots of people in universities, professors getting their grad students to do a study for a thesis or something like this. There's lots of it being done and showing up at conferences and meetings of various kinds. So now let's go to the next slide. And the other thing that you could do, rather than thinking about what you do when you get there, would be to take that whole landing area. This is the one called Mons Mouton that I've been talking about. It's about sort of nearly 100 kilometers across, east to west there. A large plateau. It would have lots of potential landing sites in it. So one study that was just published very recently actually looks at every one of the potential landing sites and identifies the best places to land within it. And then, so those are the little black dots across here. And the ones that have a white box around them are the places where they think that there's the best access to volatiles, to water and carbon dioxide and other ices in the crater floors. So they're favored, the ones with little boxes around them. And just below center, I know you won't be able to read it very well on this, but just below center, there's a tiny white spot with a little white box with an arrow pointing to it. And that's where the Intuitive Machines 2 lander landed more than a year ago and fell over on its side in a crater. So that was right there. That was our first attempt to land on Mons Mouton. But there could be many more. And I can also tell you that this same area is being considered by India for Chandrayaan-4, which will be a sample return mission. And they have several sites picked out in here. It's a big place. There's plenty of room for everybody. It's also where NASA's Viper rover will go, down at the bottom, looking for ice in craters. So this could be quite a busy place. Okay, and now let's go to the next slide, which is my last one. And this is just illustrating a little bit of work that's being done in China, because they're also doing a lot of work, and I think that would be a good topic for another talk later on. They're looking for places where they might send astronauts as well. And the area here is sort of near, well, it's not very far from the middle of the Earth-facing side. The crater Copernicus, which any student of the moon will know, is in the upper left of the upper left map. And so this is not too far away from that, near a crater called Lambert. And they've picked 2 potential landing sites there, which have scientific goals that they think would be interesting. They are looking at near equatorial sites for their first landings, and they would go to a polar site later. Okay, so that's the end of that, but there's lots more to be said about this in future, I think.
Wonderful. Are there any questions anybody has about the presentation or for Phil?
Uh-huh.
Hi, Lauri. Yeah, go for it.
Hi, Phil. Thank you. Do you think you could go back to the real picture that was taken, like now that we've seen them with all the names and everything on them. There was a nice picture of the real thing.
Like the one that was sort of black and white with shadows in the craters.
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, let's do that. Is that possible?
Oh, sure. I'll just have to pull it up again. So hang on for a
Oh,
sec.
sorry, Jeff.
No, that's okay. I
Yeah.
should have anticipated your question, Lauri.
Jeff has the presentation, not me.
Give me a sec to pull this up. The people on screen for the first 10 minutes on the indulged me, let me play with this, so I'm feeling more comfortable moving back and forth. Okay, so Lauri, which slide was it?
Keep going back. That one. That one. I want that one.
This
So
one. That up now?
yeah, so that's the one I was looking. So Phil, actually, what we're looking at is when you're talking about this mound where they might be, is this kind of almost in the center at the very top. Is that correct?
Center at the top. That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, it's 10 kilometers in vertical relief from the top of that plateau down to the bottom of the crater below it. So that is a very, very high mountain.
And then one of the other sites was right around that the really dark one in the at the center
just
there,
below, wasn't it? Yeah, just below center. You have the trio running slightly diagonally across the center. Just below that, near the middle, but just below that trio is that nice circular, very dark crater. That's Shackleton, and the long rover traverse I showed is on the left side of that crater. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it seems to me that if things went awry, that they could get themselves into a bit of trouble.
This is very true.
Compared to being on a much flatter area. I think that there would be more distinct possibilities for landing somewhere where it might not be very good.
Well, that is true. They do expect, however, that they will be able to land within about 100 meters of their target. And we should be much better at that now than we were in the days of Apollo. But, they were pretty close to the later ones.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's like that just is an astounding picture. I just love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you.
You had a question.
Yeah, Reg here in the center. My question is, you had all these potential trips mapped out. What's the duration of these first landings that we're going to have there?
Well, the first landings are supposed to be on the surface for about 6 days. That allows for maybe 3 walking EVAs or something like that. But in later missions, they might be staying longer, and they would have rovers that could drive considerable distances anyway. So there you could expect to see longer trips. But some of the work that's being done, analyzing potential activities, is really for capabilities that are beyond what we have at the moment anyway. Could be quite, I've seen maps of rover traverses that are 1,000 kilometers long, and we're not going to be doing that for a long time.
Well, a follow-up question: if it's going to be at the South Pole, are you going to have to be in more of a polar orbit rather than?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's going to be tricky coming from Earth and orienting itself, and that's what I need from the well. It's never been done before.
All of our remote sensing orbiters, like Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, are in polar orbit, so we know how to do it.
Seems like a very challenging geography to attempt landing with an untested landing craft.
Well, that's true, but each of the potential landers is supposed to do at least one landing without a crew to test it. So hopefully they will iron out any bugs at that stage.
I wasn't aware that was in the mission. That's been added, has it?
Yes.
Was that always the case?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. That seems like a reasonable way to proceed.
Yeah. Okay.
What are considered volatiles?
Anything that would evaporate if the sun shone on it. So water, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, ammonia, anything like that we might expect. Things that are found in comets and that could hit the moon and then condense into polar shadows.
Thank you, Phil. Are there any other questions of Phil or of the mapping? Chris, I'm going to ask you to chime in, but I'd like you to indulge me for a minute because I ran across a news item that I think everybody would be interested in, and I'm not sure if you were going to speak to it.
It's good so we can see it.
Yeah.
Do you see this? Do you see the Christina
Yeah,
slide?
it's good.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. This came on CHEK News. I know that Samantha Lawler had spoken to us about satellites, and Chris had referred to this also. And this was a quite spectacular picture that we were shown last week of a time lapse of some of the tracks of satellites crossing the sky. This was the item that I ran across. So I'll just play it for you.
Imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing more satellites than stars. Scientists say that shocking statement could one day be a reality.
This is dangerous. This is bad planning, and we can't have that many satellites in orbit.
A recent report by UBC researchers is sounding the alarm over a proposal by SpaceX to launch up to 1 million AI data
Oh,
centers
picture.
into orbit.
There's several.
I'm sorry, Chris?
I'm not getting a picture.
Oh dear, not at all. Is anybody else getting a picture?
No, I just thought it was audio.
Oh dear. Okay, well, thank you for stopping me. Let's just see here.
Well, I actually have that handy.
Oh, are you going to be showing that, Chris, as part of your presentation? Because Chris is interviewed as part of this. That's why I wanted to show it. Do you
Let's see. Well,
I'm happy to just try to show it again, Chris. I mean,
okay, yeah. Well, do you want me to just take a stab at it, or do you want to?
yeah, why don't you do it, because then I'll turn everything over to you.
Okay, just a second. Where is the? Oh, there it is.
Oh, you got it there. That's good.
Real talk. You can't force somebody to go.
And Chris, maybe you could maximize it for us?
Yeah, you ever get called babe? Steve.
I don't think this is it, Chris.
This is Van Color. Join us Thursday night tonight on CHEK.
What do you want me to do?
Well, I think there's an icon on the left there that's got two arrows that allows you to fill the screen.
You want to show it as a slideshow, Chris?
Okay, let's try that. Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Imagine looking up at the night sky.
Can you turn up the volume?
Scientists say that shocking statement could one day be a reality.
This is dangerous. This
Thank
is
you.
bad planning, and we can't have that many satellites in orbit.
A recent report by UBC researchers is sounding the alarm over a proposal by SpaceX to launch up to 1 million AI data center satellites into orbit.
There's several ways to access AI. Do we really need to send up a large number of satellites to access it? I question that.
The SpaceX proposal for 1 million satellites does not include any discussion of the coordination agreement that's required by the FCC.
And we've confirmed deploy of the Starlink satellites.
One of the co-authors, Samantha Lawler, says the sheer number of satellites could dramatically brighten the night sky and in some cases make thousands visible at once.
It would be more visible satellites than stars for most of the world, for most of the night, for most of the year. It's really horrifying.
The proposal from SpaceX is currently under review in the United States. A post from SpaceX founder Elon Musk says the satellites would have no operating or maintenance costs, presenting the proposal as a necessary step to fully unleash the powers of AI. QVC astronomer Aaron Boley warns that without limits, the environmental impacts could be severe, forever changing the natural night sky.
That's 10 to 20 million tons of fuel that's being used in order to put those satellites up there.
But the impact may go beyond astronomy. Scientists warn increased light in the night sky could disrupt ecosystems affecting humans and also animals that rely on darkness for migration, feeding, and reproduction.
And that could affect biological cycles in humans. You know, they affect human life, but they also affect various animals and plants. Do you want it to be light all the time?
For many astronomers, the data and concern centralizes around the potential for a permanent scar on the night sky.
With 1 million satellites, if they have 5-year lifetimes like the Starlinks do, they would be burning them up in the atmosphere once every 3 minutes. That's a pretty horrifying statistic.
Lawler and her other colleagues are not optimistic the Federal Communications Commission will decline the application from SpaceX. And while space feels infinite, they are ready to launch a very focused fight.
Great, Chris. Thank you.
Okay. Now, do we want to move on to Artemis?
Yep, please do.
Okay, just a minute here.
Real talk. You can't force somebody to go and treat. Why not? Big laugh. You ever get called babe? Steve. I'm Omir. This is Van Color. Join us Thursday night at 9 on CHEK. And the strong winds seem to blow up on.
I don't think you're sharing there, Chris.
No, I'm not, because
Okay.
I was trying to deal with that sound. Just give me a minute here. I have to find the right switch. Okay. I'm going to be talking mainly about the presentation about the future of NASA's space programs. But of course, you got to start off today. The countdown officially got underway for Artemis 2, and the launch window opens at 3:24, I believe, p.m. our time on Wednesday. So the time is getting very close. And it's a 2-hour launch window on Wednesday. They're saying the weather is 80% to go. But if it doesn't work out, they will try between Wednesday and the 6th of April to launch. And once they get going, it should be a 10-day mission. So it's going to be quite interesting. I'm not only looking forward to the flight around the far side of the moon a few days into the mission. It'll be a perspective that hasn't been seen before because the Apollo astronauts actually came in a lot closer to the moon than Artemis 2 will. And actually, the first couple of days of the flight will be interesting because they will be doing some rendezvous exercises with their final stage. This is basically a shakedown cruise for the Orion spacecraft, and with some scientific research thrown in. and there's just tons of stuff on the internet about the various activities, and I've talked to them about them a fair bit. So a couple of weeks ago, Jared Isaacman, who has been the administrator since December, started saying that there were going to be some changes to the Artemis program after Artemis 2. And this is a slide I prepared back then about some of these things. At the time, Artemis 3 was supposed to land on the moon. We even saw that in some of Phil's slides reflecting that idea. But now that's going to change, and we got more particulars. One thing that we knew was going to be coming up is that there are
from California.
Okay, whatever that is.
Okay.
I don't know where that noise is coming from. We're that in the coming year, both SpaceX and Blue Origin were going to be launching versions of the vehicles that they want to use to land on the moon with Artemis. And we've actually, even to this day, heard very little about their exact plans for the coming year, but that's going to be an important part of what's coming up with Artemis. But on at our meeting last week, we just sort of barely got notice that the following day, on the 24th of March, there is going to be a major announcement about the future upcoming NASA programs called Ignition. And so last Tuesday, it did take place. It actually took several hours. I was spending a lot of time that day in front of my television set watching what was going on. It spoke, it was in several sections. First of all, about the Artemis and the lunar base, and then a long discussion about what their plans are for low Earth orbit following the International Space Station. Then there is a presentation on scientific projects, most of which are already ongoing. So there's probably fewer surprises in that part. And then finally, a plan for a nuclear-powered craft to go to Mars. So I'm going to try and go through these things as fast as we can. But Administrator Isaacman was there. You can see him in the slide at the left, and various other officials from NASA made presentations.
Slides. I'm not seeing any slides. Chris, is anybody else seeing slides?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
seeing everything fine.
Okay, good. I'm not getting that. Anyway, you keep going.
The image at the top there is kind of a signature one they were using for the base. It's obviously a bunch of lights on the moon from various things to do with the base, and it looks like it's probably close to some of these areas that Phil was talking about. I have heard some, well, maybe I'll just get to that part in a minute. Now, this is a slide that they showed back in February about some of the changes to Artemis, where they were going to have at least two or at least another test flight before they would attempt a landing. I think in February they were suggesting there might be a couple before the landing. But anyway, so the first part of the ignition announcement kind of rolls our Artemis this way. You know, we've got Artemis 1, which has already happened, Artemis 2, which will be happening this week, we hope. And then in the next year or so, the test flights of those lunar landers that I showed you a couple of slides ago. In 2027, next year, the plan is to have a Artemis 3 flight in Earth orbit, rendezvousing and docking, perhaps with at least one of the lunar lander vehicles, and perhaps both of them, kind of like Apollo 9 mission that we had in 1969 en route to Apollo 11. And then basically in 2028, the plan is to have 2 landing missions to the moon. And like Phil, I've been hearing some talk that there might be a landing attempted outside of that south polar zone. But I'm sure at least one of those 2 scheduled landings, if not both of them, will take place there if all goes according to plan. Now, basically, after Artemis 5, NASA will be moving away from the Space Launch System rocket that we're going to hopefully see perform this week, and go to private sector provision of launches to the moon. Perhaps the Starship that SpaceX is building, or something that Blue Origin is building, but that's subject to a lot of things. And one of the casualties, as I've been predicting, is the Lunar Gateway. This is the slide they put up explaining that. The official word is that it has been suspended or paused, but I think it's as dead as a doornail, this concept. So and the money that had been set aside for Gateway is going to be all put into the lunar base that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Canada's main contribution to Artemis was to build Canadarm3 for Gateway. What our contribution will be beyond supplying Jeremy for the Artemis 2 flight remains to be seen. Right now, no details from the Canadian Space Agency. They're talking a good game. Oh, we're very flexible. I saw a story about that today, but we'll just have to see. The Artemis portion or the lunar base portion of the flight, this is kind of the key slide, and of what they expect to have in 2026. They're talking about, by the way, they're not talking about a major budget increase. In fact, basically taking money from other things, such as Lunar Gateway, and spending about $20 billion, which is basically what they've spent on this war in Iran already in 3 weeks. But anyway, that's another matter. They want to spend about $20 billion to create something like this, and as we will see, it's very ambitious. So you can see habitats there, you can see rovers there, some of them open, some of them enclosed. You can see power for solar and nuclear power stations. There's drones in the air, and also communications satellites orbiting around the moon to facilitate communications with the base. And of course, it will be very interesting where they decide to put this base, but I imagine it will be in these areas that Phil was, one of these areas that Phil was talking about. So to get into, I'm not going to go into huge detail, but I'm going to go into some detail to give you just a general idea of what they're doing. Is you can see there's 3 phases here over the next 10 years to establish what's on this slide. And this is a chart they put up of some of the launches and flights. So we have landings of astronauts. We have flights transporting the infrastructure for all this, the residences, the satellites I was talking about, the drones, the rovers, the power supply. This is kind of the general picture of how they want to lay this out. And there's a lot of people who say, well, this looks pretty good, but in terms of meeting the schedule, they'll believe it when they see it. And of course, when we get to 2029, there will be a new administration in charge. Who knows? It might be Republican again. It might be happy to follow along the path that's been set now, or it might be something different. Anyway, this is the plan as it looks like right now. This is they kind of wound up this section of the presentation with this, and you can see that they're being very open about it. To achieve the near impossible, we are driving to a high volume of complex missions, and you saw that in the previous slide, with challenging execution timelines. And the slide lays out some of the challenges, and you can see the bottom line of this slide. The day after this presentation, they started having meetings with these big private sector contractor firms about starting the work of them making proposals for all this stuff. So there's no grass growing under their feet, shall we say. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the low Earth orbit, but basically space stations. So the plan for the last little while is that the ISS, the International Space Station, would continue in orbit until 2030, and then it would just be brought into the atmosphere over the ocean and burned up. There's been some talk that will be backed up to 2032. And then NASA's been saying, well, we're looking at supporting 3 or 4 private sector firms and getting space stations up of their own to succeed the ISS. Well, this part of the presentation was very interesting. So this slide here, is sort of the typical thing we've seen about, all the flights and how many people and how much money and all this stuff. But when we get into this is where it gets interesting, because they're basically saying that a lot of the hopes and plans for the ISS in terms of commercializing space activities and creating a market really haven't worked out the way they planned. And that there basically is not the money to build those 3 or 4 stations that they were talking about, both from the private sector providers because of the limited market, but also from NASA. So you can see this: no breakthrough products or capabilities. Tourism has not materialized. So when we saw this section, we saw that there was in the form of the new administrator, that there's a new sheriff in town. The days of, you could say that there's a certain amount of wishful thinking in some of these deadlines, but it sure is gone from the ISS. So, but they still say it's very important to have something there. So they are basically talking about supporting one station to succeed the ISS with a lot of private sector involvement to kind of carry on that sort of stuff, because they've said the presence of the United States in low Earth orbit is a national imperative. And this is just a follow-up to the slide from a couple of slides ago, talking about some of the problems and challenges. So this, I have not seen anything like this from NASA before. So what they're talking about is kind of a phased changeover. Not just dumping the ISS in the ocean and then starting from scratch with a new thing. They're talking about building having built a core module that would be delivered to the ISS, and then it would sort of take over more of the ISS functions, such as private astronaut missions. That's what PAM stands for. And then attaching commercial modules to it, and then detaching it from the ISS, which would then be dumped in the drink, and we would have a new space station. So, this is a big change, but they're basically asking for people to bid on these sorts of things. So that's a big change. Now, then we get into the scientific section, and they showed basically a lot of plans that are already kind of in the hopper, or missions that are already going on. And I'm just gonna, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna put up a couple here that I thought were worth mentioning. They're talking, there's this a Dragonfly mission that would send, I think, kind of helicopter type aircraft to Titan. And so that's an interesting one. They talked about the Nancy Grace Roman telescope, which is you can see it here in the clean room at Goddard, where Hubble was before and Webb was before. It's Nancy Grace Roman is going to be a big survey telescope. It's going to have a much wider field of view than Hubble does. And of course, fairly powerful because it's much newer than Hubble. It's later in April, there's going to be kind of I think a big ceremony when they get ready to move it out of the clean room. But it has come in ahead of schedule and under budget. And I think the hope is to get it launched later this year and get it going. So I think that will be very exciting, because it's going to be showing us a lot of real estate that we haven't been able to enjoy with Hubble or even Webb, because they're smaller fields of view. And then looking forward, this is what scientists have called for the habitable worlds observatory. And by the time it flies, and this is still a number of years into the future, I don't even think they mentioned a specific date. But they ought to have a better idea from other satellites and telescopes on Earth and which exoplanets might be a possible site for life. And the fourth part of this is called the Space Reactor 1 Freedom. And actually, this is, and there was kind of a long discussion about the policy priority that NASA has to build nuclear-powered spacecraft. And there's been kind of a long effort to do that. But I think actually only one ever flew, and that was a long time ago. And scads of money were spent, and they've decided to push for this again. Now, a lot of this has a very ambitious timeline. They want to get it launched in December of 2028, which for something like this isn't that far away. And apparently, a lot of the equipment for this spacecraft is going to be cannibalized from the power module that was being built for the orbital gateway for Artemis that I spoke about before. So I'm not even sure at this point whether they've decided it will go into orbit around Mars or just fly by, but it has. In any case, it is going to be dropping something off. Skyfall, 3 Mars helicopters, and we know what a great success the helicopter was on the last rover, which landed a few years ago. So that was another important part of this presentation. So they basically wrap things up this way. You know, the return to the moon, building a moon base, their plans for low Earth orbit, the nuclear thing, and for kind of a Trumpian flourish, we are entering a golden age of science and discovery. There's a lot of hard work going on at NASA now, just kind of redirecting some of the efforts in the directions that they're talking here. There's going to be a lot of interaction with potential private sector providers. By the way, in the science section, they spoke about building scientific probes with only partial funding from NASA, but perhaps using corporate funding, but also philanthropic funding. You know, a couple of months ago, I showed a thing that, and I've forgotten the name of it, but it was somebody who just made, you know, billionaires has made all these money, this money. In this case, I think out of Google or something like that, and they are actually building an ambitious set of space astronomy missions that they're funding themselves. And Isaacman is talking about, well, why don't we get together on some of these things? So it's a potentially we're entering a potentially really interesting time in many facets. That's kind of the gist of the announcement we had 6 days ago, and going to be watching this with great interest. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris. Any questions for Chris about any parts of the presentation? Chris, I was wondering, one of the things with Apollo that we watched with interest was that some of the, well, a considerable amount of the latter planning fell apart, seemingly on the basis of money and declining public interest.
Yes.
I mean, this is an incredibly ambitious projection, and of course, it's difficult to speculate about both public interest and money, but we've got a somewhat bombastic administration currently in the States. Did you get the sense that this was sober and thought through, or hopeful and trying to please somebody?
Well, there is a little bit of the latter, but there was a lot of the former because, at the time of Apollo, there was a major increase in NASA's budget. At one stage, NASA was getting 4% of the U.S. federal budget, which is a big, big amount for NASA. It's small compared, the Department of Defense or War or whatever you want to call it, usually gets about, a quarter or a third of the budget, and then social programs get an even bigger part of the budget. So NASA's part wasn't very big, but it was reduced. By the end of Apollo, it was back under 1% of the budget, which is like a quarter of what they were spending at the height of Apollo, and we're still down there, and they expect to do a lot of this work within the current budget. There's no talk of we're going to give you a whole bunch more money, and actually something that's coming up right away is that usually is that the 2027 budget, or the budget for the coming year anyway, as proposed by the White House, is supposed to be revealed in the next few days. And that will be interesting. Like a year ago when they brought down the budget, there were major cuts everywhere, including NASA. But most of the cuts were didn't get past Congress, that the budget was kind of restored to the almost to this what had been the year before, so I think NASA knows that whatever it does, it has to do within the current budget, and it's highly unlikely, particularly with the events of the last 3 weeks, that they will have more money to play with. So that's kind of the $20 billion question, is how well are they going to able to do all this stuff within the current budget, and what else is going to, there'll probably be money taken away from other things for some of these priorities. So I think there's a certain amount of realism in this plan, but there was that thing that was said here, near impossible, high volume of complex missions, challenging execution timelines. But a reason I spent a fair bit of time on the space station thing was that I was fascinated to see that that no punches were being pulled about the effectiveness of the work of the ISS, which is almost unprecedented.
Thank you. Lauri, you had a question?
Yes, Chris, do we have any idea as to what would happen if the gateway is gone or paused? I, where will the money go that the CSA has put toward that?
Well, we're going to have to see, because we haven't really seen, a comprehensive statement, on the day that thing, FDA, our major aerospace contractor and the main contractor in Canadarm3, put out a statement saying, well, we still have a contract and we're going to keep working on it. And then somebody near the top of the CSA said, well, we are very flexible and this is what Canada is good at and this is why we're a great partner. So, it remains to be seen. And I did notice that that Canada was looking at cutting back its space budget a little bit because, there's cuts all over the government, as we know, except of course in defense. And Canada was working on a Mars rover program of its own, which was canceled about 2 weeks ago in the name of saving money. And I think it's interesting. I'm sure they must have talked to NASA about it because this plan for the lunar base has a lot in the way of rovers. Some of them automatic, and some of them with people on board, and some of them that people could live on at least for a couple of days. So anyway, I await further developments.
Thank you. Joe, you had a question? You're muted, I think.
No, I'm live, I believe. I was wondering about the location of the lunar base. It's a lovely graphic, but where's a likely spot for this thing? Or I don't know if you mentioned it, but I don't think you did.
Well, I think it's I think that's probably going to be in one of those areas that Phil was talking about. Like I expect it to be in the near the South Pole, because the idea of going down there is in those permanently shadowed areas. They think there's water there, and that makes a base much more sustainable than, say, another part of the moon where it makes any desert we have on Earth look pretty damp. I think, it may be that the first couple of landings in Artemis may not necessarily go to the South Pole, but I think they're going to the South Pole, and I think that includes that especially includes the base.
Thank you. Any other questions anybody has of Chris? Can you remove the screen share there, Chris?
Sure, yes. So I think we're very fortunate to actually have Phil with us because, we're getting a lot of information that not many other people are getting right now. So there you go. I'm off.
Thanks. Peter Norman had written me, had some reflections about Artemis, and also, I believe, has some pictures with his Seestar. Peter, are you here and are you able to take over? Saw him at one point.
There, I just had to unmute myself.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'd only sent the one picture. It was, I think, in response to Randy's announcement about this meeting. And so I sent him one of the ones I'd taken with my Seestar. of the moon, and I forwarded that to him. And I mean, I've done a lot of astrophotography over the last year or so. Once I got hold of this Seestar, and it's just the S30, but it's amazing what kind of images I've managed to get, which are really great because of post-processing more than anything. But then I noticed that in most astrology books or astronomy books, the pictures in those are probably all post-processed as well, to enhance the images or to clarify them or whatever. But yeah, and so I didn't really have a conversation with anyone about taking any part of this meeting, but there was just mentioned that might be something to. Well, I mean, I'm intrigued by the Artemis mission, and I just, hoping and praying that it gets off on schedule this time on the 1st, and or at least in those first few days if necessary. That's the picture you see on the screen there now. The moon picture that I took once I finally had enough clear skies here on Vancouver Island, because we don't get too many of them, to get a full moon shot. And I've always been fascinated by the moon, and I think it's Tycho crater at the towards the southern end there always looks to me like it's marking the southern pole of the moon, like it was put there for just that purpose. And but I can remember from being a child, I knew nothing about astronomy really, other than I was fascinated by the stars, and would lie out. I was born in Montreal, and in those days we had a summer place 50 miles north of Montreal. And in the summers, my brother and I would lie out on the grass on this little cabin property that we had, and just stare at the stars. And of course, it would have been a Bortle, probably a Bortle 0 or 1. In that particular location, so many stars, and we would watch and count the number of shooting stars that we'd see during the course of the evening. And so I was absolutely overwhelmed by the expanse that was laid out before me, and the thought, and it boggles the mind if you try and get your mind around it, about this endless expanse, because everything we know, of course, on this planet has an end. And to conceive of something that doesn't have an end would just leaves you to madness at some point. And so when we got overwhelmed by that, then we'd usually go inside and have some hot chocolate or something. And but Artemis too, and the other thing I did too was I made sure that I have my name on that craft when it goes. Have that passport, to have my name flying out past the moon, which is kind of exciting, which is as close as I would want to get to actually being in a spacecraft, because you couldn't get me there at gunpoint, and in that enclosed space. And, I'd want to open a window. So not a wise thing to do if you're in space. So I don't know what more I can do. I have some pictures I can show, but if I can get them, and I'm not sure how I do that. Actually, I've never done that on this program. So
Thank you, Peter. Randy had sent me the photo which I put up.
Right.
Yeah, I mean there is a screen share, but we can certainly, I don't want you to spend your time live trying to get that up. If you
Yeah.
can, if you can pull a photo up, you can just share it on screen. There's a screen share at the bottom, but I can let you fiddle with that, and we'll go on with other stuff. Thank you very much, and thanks for showing the picture. It's really.
Yeah.
Natasha, you had mentioned some information about Artemis.
Yes, and actually, I need to be able to share. Someone else is sharing.
That's me. I'll get off and it'll be yours.
Okay.
There you go.
All righty. Okay, and just bear with me 1 second. I think I request to allow multiple presenter. I don't think I have access.
Just decline that and or get rid of it and start again. It was because there were you started to share when there was already screen sharing, so now you should be able to do it all now that you're the only one.
Right. Okay. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so that's an interesting segue from Peter because he referred to the names that are going to be aboard the spacecraft. And yesterday, when the crew arrived in Florida from Texas, they posted this video. And oh my God, I forgot to do the sound thing. Just hang on 1 second. It's just a 1 minute video. Share sound, optimize. Right. Okay, there we go. All right. So here is mission specialist Christina, and she is going to be just talking for a few seconds about their zero-G indicator, as every mission has one. It's like a little plush toy, and it enables them to know when they get into the zero gravity. So I'll play this, and hopefully you can hear it. Come on. Because Peter, my name is on there too. I got a kick out of this. I think it's fun. Play.
This microphone in place, but we are thrilled to announce today the winner of the Zero-G Indicator or ZGI contest, which was participated in worldwide. And our buddy here named Rise was submitted by second grader Lucas Yee from California.
Yeah, Lucas.
Thank you, Lucas. The crew personally participated in selecting our buddy, our stowaway, to fly with us. And this little guy, Rise, really resonated with us because the theme is actually the Earthrise photo taken on Apollo 8, which is inspirational to all of us. And it is a mission that sort of mirrors our own. And we've incorporated it into our mission patch and also into our ethos and values as a crew. So welcome aboard, Rise. It was a great first flight with you. We look forward to the next one.
Thank you. One last cool little note on Rise is on the bottom of Rise, there's a little tiny zipper right here, and the micro SD card that has everyone's names that they've submitted. There's still time. I think it closes tonight. Courtney can make sure, but this is where that SD card will live, so it will be right here on our Zero-G indicator. A great little feature of our little buddy Rise. Thank you.
That's right. We'll be taking submissions until 5 p.m. tonight, so you still have time to get your name in if you're interested.
Okay. That was kind of fun.
Wonderful. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Vince, you wanted to show something, I believe.
Yeah. So I sent it in the link. I'm not sure. Can I figure out how to share? This is always fun. Let me see what I can do here.
You put this in the chat?
It's in the chat, but I'm going to try and share. There we go.
Okay, you good?
I got it. I don't know if anybody can see it, but
there you go.
That's what the picture I took last night after the abort was called. I went out to my own observatory, which I'm sitting in right now, and with my 62 millimeter refractor with a 400 millimeter focal length, I took that one in SHNO over the night. It was absolutely a glorious night. It's of the Rosette Nebula. Some say it looks like a rose, some say it looks like a skull. To me, it flips back and forth. But it looks to me, actually, now looking at it, that I've enhanced it, it looks like a skull with a toupee. But that is 3 hours of integration on the S, H, and O bands.
What was your base exposures, Vince?
180 seconds.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's on a ASI 294 mm.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to. It was a shame that we canceled last night. I understand the reasons for it. It's hard to organize something with a whole bunch of people showing up, and you're not sure that it's going to be clear. And of course, the sky gods mocked us right at the end, right when the abort was called. And so I went, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this. So I jumped in, and I was working it till about 3 o'clock in the morning. I've got other pictures, elephant trunk. There's one that doesn't even have a name. I found it by accident. It's like a supernova remnant. I was just pointing in that direction to what was it? I was doing my flats. I had just changed to the hydrogen to shoot the elephant trunk. And lo and behold, this nebula showed up. I'm like, "What is that?" So I'm looking on. I'm looking on Stellarium, and sure enough, there's a target there. There's like a supernova remnant, but nobody's actually named it.
So was that closer to dawn, or
yeah,
not?
it was about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. It's kind of like this arc, it's a typical supernova remnant, but then there's this like blue squid in the middle of it. It's really neat. I can't wait to actually process the pictures and release them.
Yeah, you could probably plate solve and find out what it is.
I know exactly what I'm pointing at. Like I can go back and I can even tell you what star it's centered on. Maybe if it lets me.
Cool.
Oh no, it's not. It's not going to let me because it's too early. Let me look in the files. Bear with me for just a half a second here, and I will go to the files from last night. That would be the 30th. It might be.
So
might
Vince,
be HIP 104642.
Oh, okay. Hey Vince, how does your tent preserve you from the environment? Are you warm enough inside the tent?
Oh yeah, quite well. Actually, I'm not in the tent. I've moved into my shed because it was a little bit too cold, and and not only that, I've had some problems with my knee. I've done some horrible damage to my knee. It looks like I've torn my MCL, and I managed to do that while doing astronomy. I was just sitting in my chair, and I got up.
Oh wow!
And it was just something went pop, and just incredible pain. So I think I'm the first person in history to have an astronomy related injury.
Certainly an MCL.
Yeah, exactly. You're the only one in history actually. Here I am, like national team athlete, done all these crazy races, and I tear my MCL doing astronomy. Like you can't even make that stuff up. But yeah.
Well, Vince, I have an alternate story because I was ready to go out last night, and I decided no, I'm just going to stay in, and I started working on the poster for Astronomy Day, and then I had these mints, and I popped one in my mouth, and I went crunch, and I cracked a tooth last night. So if I had gone out, I wouldn't have done that.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to, I don't know, maybe a little bit of sharing with what everybody missed, and a little bit of
Well, it's well deserved.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that was my win from last night. I've probably got more wins, but that's one of them.
Well, I can't believe the number of times when you kind of look and you think, oh, not worth it. and then you go out an hour later and it's perfectly clear.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a little AI predictor piece of software I wrote, and it is scarily accurate. So it said absolutely it's going to be clear and exceptional last night. And so that's I went, okay, we're definitely doing this one way or the other. But yeah, it's I should actually at least bring some pictures of it next time I show up. But it just gives you a graph preview in the next 12 hours. It pulls information from about a dozen different places, and it has been frighteningly accurate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do. Next
Lauri,
time.
Lauri, did you have a question? I saw your hand pop up and then.
I was just going to actually segue from what Vince was saying about not being able to, predict the sky very well, because I just wanted to say that we're bummed right out on like a weekend ago about with Sidhu's astronomy
right
a star party, and the same thing happened is we had to make a decision at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was just horrible. And
Yep.
so we canceled both the Friday and the Sunday, and both of them ended up being something that we might have been able to use had we gone out. But I just wanted to say that that we are going to try this again on Friday, April the 17th.
Okay.
We're going to try again for the star party up in the Highlands at the Twin Flower Park, and we'd love to have people come up and put their telescopes up, and it will be 8:30 to 10, because we're now kind of an hour later with the light. We're going to be starting at 8:30. So please just give me a phone call or an email if you would like to join in to the group up at the Highlands on
I
that
would
day.
love to, and I wanted to, but I didn't know where it was. So
okay,
maybe
I
just
can
a
get you the
suggestion
information.
is to throw that like a link up on the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, we've got a poster, so I'll do that. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay.
I just I know that probably not part of the part
Well,
of
I was
the
going to
thing,
come
but
to you, Lauri. I was
it
going to come
worked.
to you anyway for announcements in a bit.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
appreciate that. Thanks for. Will you make sure that that link is posted, Lauri, or maybe on the website for
Yes, I don't have the link with me right now to put in the chat, but I can get that to Joe and he can put that up.
Oh, that's great. So there was one other thing I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention, and this was just brought to my attention because it was posted on X. Chris, I hope you're still around. Um, so Chris Gainor, as part of the Sunshine Coast Astronomy Series, is actually giving a talk on April the 10th. It's both on site in where's it? In Seychelles, and it's also online. Chris, do you have a couple words you want to say about that?
This is I've given a number of talks about Hubble, but this is one a bit more recent. The last couple of years I've been working on Hubble's relationship with Canadian astronomy, and I've some of it I've written in JRASC and elsewhere. And now I can't remember if I've talked about this topic to the Victoria Center or not, but anyway, I'll be talking about that aspect of Hubble. I'm going to be out visiting the Sunshine Coast and for the first time in a few years, and so that's what it'll be about. This includes things just like the Canadian Astronomy Data Center, and which had a role, and Hubble had a role in actually bringing the internet to Canada, things like that.
Neat. So I've actually the link that's listed on the poster takes you to a Zoom link. So I posted both the website and also the Zoom link. So the website takes you to the Zoom link. This is the Zoom link. I will try to post that also in the chat, but just so that it shows up on this recording so that people have access to it. In the last couple of times I've hosted, David Lee has had some announcements, and he's been cut off at the knees because we've run out of time. So I wanted to make sure that he had a chance. David, I'll just get out of here. And do you have anything that you want to say?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think I'll just start off by saying there is another beginners SIG coming up. I think it's April 7th, I believe. No actual scheduled topics, but I thought it might be a great time to maybe talk about our recently found collection of telescopes that we found out at Sid's place. And there's an extraordinary number of C8s out there. And I would say that they're not all in great condition, but I would say maybe at least 50% are. Some look like they have never been used, actually. Now, being old, it comes with a cautionary note. The electronics may not be usable anymore. It's hard to say. But some of them are actually on alt-as mounts. So, they can be used manually. There's no problem with that. And I've got, and I see Vince might even be kind of rubbing his hands. I've got a whole pile of stuff for you, Vince, out at Sid's place. It's a lot of accessories and pieces. You might be interested in using them for parts and things like that.
Absolutely. I was actually raising my hand about the electronics because
Yeah.
I have an old scope that I replaced the electronics. So that design, I've got 15 circuit boards that I had made because you have to make them in batches.
Yeah.
And I can donate those pretty much at the cost of parts, which is almost
Well, I'm gonna be sharing the catalog as it exists right now. I have a catalog of the stuff that we've unearthed.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna have to revisit them again. I'll have to bring back the best of my memory. I mean, I did take pictures, but I don't remember the exact conditions. So I will be doing that. I'm going to start with us, like with our local community here, to give people a chance to acquire scopes, and then after that, Chris, if you're going out to the Sunshine Coast, I wouldn't mind if you mentioned that we have this inventory of scopes, because maybe there's some people out on the coast that don't have anything and would
I've
love
actually
would love
got
to have something.
a very deserving young astronomer who would absolutely lose his mind over a C8.
Well, there you go. So that's what I'm hoping people are going to say to me, because we haven't talked about the liquidation model yet. Certainly, many of them will be just donated to people who will give it a home. Some that are in a little better condition, we might at least ask for donation, because there's going to be some costs to us maintaining whatever we keep. So I would like this not to be onerous. I mean, if we have stuff that's usable, people will hopefully donate. I certainly plan to do that. The little Mac that I've taken on eval, I would likely like to keep it, but there's another one just like it actually in the inventory, and it seems reasonable. I mean, it's not a scope that I would use all the time, but certainly I would donate to the cause, right? So I'm hoping a lot of people will say that.
I'm happy to donate my time to help bring these things up to standard, and like I said, replace the electronics on these things and turn them into working units. I'm going to be laid up for about 4 weeks after my surgery, so this is perfect because I'll be losing my mind on the plate. So I'm jumping at the bit for something to do.
I should put you to work, in other words, right?
Exactly. This is a golden opportunity. Don't waste it.
Yeah. No, I would really like to maybe talk to people. I mean, these are these are telescopes from another time, like to me, they seem fairly fresh because they were the scopes of choice when I started astronomy. But, you know, unfortunately, that was a long time ago, right? This goes back to the 80s for me. So these were the prevalent scopes of the time. Probably not the best choice for me as a beginner, but I can sort of appreciate them now. Yeah, so there's still life in these things. I don't really want these things to go to the landfill for nothing,
Oh,
right?
that would be a travesty. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. If it comes to that, I will house them myself to make sure that they get refurbished and handed off to deserving people.
Yeah, the other thing I would like to say is many people have used older scopes as kind of like passion projects of restoration.
Mhm.
And if you're interested in doing that, there's enough people like Vince, and I mean, I know a little bit. I mean, that would help you get them back and running again. I mean, that would be great to,
Yeah,
to
a
give them a
C8,
new life.
I can disassemble and reassemble a C8 with my eyes closed.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. And many of them can be deforked as well. So if you have a new harmonic drive, you can just put them on your M5 or your whatever harmonic drive you have, and as long as we can defork them and put a plate on them,
I have strong opinions about deforking them. I'm a fork supremacy kind of guy.
I never would have dreamt that. I never would have dreamt that.
I do not understand the passion behind German equatorials, where you had to actually have to think about pure side. Never got that. Like for astrophotography.
You're happy with fork. You're happy with
Oh
fork
yeah,
ones?
I mean,
Yeah.
I can track an object from rise to set and not have to flip peers. It's awesome.
We're going to have an equatorial versus fork battle or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is the supreme.
No, that's great. Well, I hope I've got people at least interested. We might talk a little bit about that at the beginner's SIG, and then the last thing I mentioned was we're going to be bringing these scopes out into the open soon. I'm working on a catalog with hopefully with condition and what you might do with them and things like that. And hopefully we'll find homes. Right, Lauri? We're going to find homes, right?
I was also I just had a quick thought, because I do that sidewalk astronomy. I could actually set one up and just say,
well, there you go.
This scope looking for a home for donation.
Yeah. That would be great. And anyways, I will be calling the group together to talk. Once I get the asset catalog assembled, I'm gonna need a kind of a classification scheme to decide how we either liquidate or we give away or donate. So we'll be doing that in the next few weeks, I hope.
Thank you, David. Lauri, did you have any notes, anything about Astronomy Day from David, either David or Lauri?
I think things are coming along pretty well. Randy is getting speakers. We've got IMAX films. David is working on the poster. Chris is working on the press release. We've got quite a few people coming to set up, and so things are coming along. Again, thank you for everybody who has offered their help in volunteering, and we still need to be able to kind of fill a couple of spots, but we'll get a hold of people as we can work. I don't know, Randy's not here, but if there's anyone else that has any questions about it, again, April the 25th at the museum from 10 till 3. We will be working on Friday evening to take things from the center and taking them from the center and taking them to the museum and setting up some of the things then. And then on the Saturday we'll be working. Then at nighttime we're up at the center with
John Willis. John
John
Willis.
Willis, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
John Willis is going to be talking with us up at the center. And we've got a couple of things. We're going to be doing an Ask an Astronomer booth if anybody would like to kind of sit in for a little while and ask questions for the people that come in. And often it might even be that there's lots of questions about Artemis if that's kind of what's going to happen. And we're going to set up a donation book table. Or book and resources table so that we've got lots of things from SID, we've got things from the center, we've got things that belong to the RASC, and we're going to be setting up a little bit of a donation jar for change and loonies and things like that, and people can take things, and we'd like to get some things off of our hands. So we're trying a variety of things for that night. So please come. We want everybody to come.
And the solar group that's normally in front of the museum, that's going to be reshaped without Sid. So, yeah, we could use lots of volunteers for that as well. I think
Alex and Chris are looking after that.
Yeah, that's great. And I think Reg is retrieving a solar scope as well. So that will be available for that day.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Lauri, what is the time at the museum on Friday if people are coming there? Because they don't give us full access, right? It's after like from 4 or what time?
Oh, I think what did I say, Wyman, about Wyman said that he would come and help get things from the center. So I think we're looking at about 4:30 or so, and then down at the museum. We have to be out by 6. So we just have to, but it usually doesn't take more than, there's not more than 45 minutes or something by the time we get there. So
that's an underestimate, but okay. That's
I'll
good.
check with the people at the museum. That's the important thing.
Okay.
Lauri, do we have to make arrangements for that bollard at the end of the driveway or?
Not for the
load.
Yes. I'm just trying to think. We may need something on the Friday. Yes, I'll have to look at that. Yeah,
Unless we load from the back parking lot.
Yeah, we'll work on that. That's logistics later on. So no problem.
Anybody else that wants to bring up any comment? Yeah, go for it. Go ahead. I see you.
Reg is waving his hand.
Yep, I think it's Reg.
First of all, I was the rascal who scrubbed the mission to the BCO the other night. And the reason I was very confident we were going to have good weather, but we only had one person sign up. So Vince, if you want to come up, you have to reply to the email for the Hilldogs.
I thought I did. I was pretty sure.
I didn't receive anything. So
it's probably my usual. It's in my inbox or my outbox. I forgot to hit the stupid button again.
At any rate, I'm glad you stayed home. You got a beautiful photograph. I really love that. Thanks for that. Yeah. And the other thing, I'm just putting out a challenge there. We talk about occultations. Artemis will be having an occultation of Artemis. So people with the right stuff try and photograph it as it emerges from the far side of the moon. It'll be a trivial thing, I'm sure.
That's good. Thank you. Any further input, comments, questions?
What is the state of the Astro Cafe next week, which is
it's Easter, right?
I believe we're not having it next week.
Yeah, it's a stat holiday, so there'll be nobody here in the center, so it is canceled.
So the next Astro Cafe will be the week after that.
Correct.
The 13th, I guess.
So Artemis will be finished.
Oh yeah, Artemis. Well, hopefully Artemis will be finished. Well, certainly by the next time we.
Assuming it gets off on time, but I'm already seeing things being posted on Facebook and things like this about where to look for Artemis if you've got a Seestar or the various go-to scopes and things, except for the one I own, of course. And so anyway, I'll be interested to see, in a couple of weeks, whether anybody does come up with a picture of Artemis.
That'd be cool.
Sounds like a challenge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, NASA was talking about designating some people to make observations, and I've forgotten where that all went. But
there'll probably be all kinds of them that made by AI.
That's right.
Yeah. Make sure that you see all the little aliens, kind of looking from somewhere, from out the window or something. Yes. So, okay. Well, thanks, Jeff.
Of course. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the presentations. Everyone stay well, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Also, Astro Cafe is now over for today.
Yeah.
One more.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah. Jeff, before we go, we do have a thing next Wednesday at UVic. It's Ruhi.
Oh, right.
Oh, right,
Yes.
right.
Good. Thank you.
Ruhi Jan Mohammed on black holes. She's very entertaining. So
Wonderful.
Usual Wednesday.
It's next Wednesday, 7:30 at UVic.
So
It's
in
in a
2 days?
different room.
Or
It's gonna be in a different room, so pay attention when we send out our email.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we need to move Victoria closer to Parksville. That would suit me.
Here you go.
Well, we just needed that one big earthquake, and we'll have that.
Yeah. Well, we'll have waterfront anyway.
Anyway, Chris, I hope everything goes really well on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. For everybody's sake.
For sure.
Okay. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
Good night.